Okay, so it's in some Naseehah, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina wa Habibina Maulana Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa barik wa sallim. I wanted to share some thoughts and reflections on a workshop we had yesterday. Yesterday, alhamdulillah, we hosted a workshop called Peace Discipline. Peace Discipline at Islam, yeah? And I wanted to share some reflections. I think it's a very important topic. But let's just start off with what is probably like a foundational hadith in parenting, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi." Kullukum ra'in, all of you are shepherds. Wa kullukum, and all of you are mas'ulun. Mas'ul means you're responsible, you'll be asked, you're held accountable. An ra'iyatihi, about their flock. So, alhamdulillah, many of you are parents, and inshallah, many of you maybe one will be parents one of these days, inshallah. Or many of you are aunties, uncles, grandparents, some of you, alhamdulillah. So, when the shepherd, where do sheep normally sleep? We know very little about animals. Like, so I have 3 kids. I got them some chicks now, small chickens. So, I want them to get used to animals and get used to like interaction with animals and so on. So like many people don't even know, like you don't have to have a daddy chicken to make a mommy chicken to have an egg. An egg is not like a baby coming out. Like a chicken lays between 300 to 320 eggs a year. So every day a chicken lays in. A laying chicken lays an egg almost every day. It's not through impregnation that the egg comes out. So the eggs we eat is not actually baby chickens, because it's not a sterile chicken. There's no life in there. So that's just a detour. Because I'm asking you, where do the sheep sleep? Where do sheep know? Like if you have a farm, where do sheep sleep? I don't know. But I'm going to assume, and that's maybe completely wrong, but I'm going to assume, and let's go with the assumption, because just it's a metaphor, is that sheep sleep in a barn. Yes. And then where does the shepherd take the sheep to? The field. Okay, so we have in our mind now this picture. I don't know how accurate it is, but anyway, I'm just saying that's the picture in our mind. The picture in our mind is that the sheep are sleeping in the barn. Then the shepherd wakes up and maybe he has his staff and he has his dog. He takes a walk out and he opens the barn and he guides all the sheep to a grazing patch. And the sheep grazes there. And what does he do when they finish grazing? He takes them back to the barn. Okay. So this is the prophetic example of parenting. Kullukum ra'in. All of you are shepherds. And as the Prophet ﷺ, his first job was to be a shepherd in al-Anbiya. Okay. So now we are the parents, right? So where is our barn? Our barn is the home, right? And where is the grazing ground? Everything outside the house. The whole world. Okay. Now, I think that as parents or grandparents, we always have this kind of tension in our parenting. And the tension in the parenting is that you want to keep the kids safe and warm and protected in the barn, because no harm can come to our beloved children. At the same time, you want to equip them and empower them to deal with the world out there, outside the barn. You with me? So you always have this tension. Some people are more on the barn side and some people are more on the world side. You know, some people say, no, they're not leaving this barn, they're staying here until they, you understand, they have a big barn. High gates, quite barn. And other people are, no, Get them out of the barn, get them in the world, they must learn all the stuff. Okay. So that's like the fundamental challenge, because outside the barn is a little bit scary for the kids. It's not like all pure and innocent and so on. So that's the metaphor. So what the shepherd does the shepherd take them outside the barn? Yes. Does he go with them? Does he choose a spot? What does he do while they're grazing? What's his job? He must take out. So his job is to know where he's going to. His job is to make sure that all his sheep get there. And his job is to make sure that while he's getting there and while they're grazing, while they're coming back, that no one gets lost and there's no danger comes, no wolves come and no foxes come to them. So his job is a job of protection, but also letting them out of the barn to grow and eat and grow and develop and, be in the world as sheep are in the world. So we have that same role. Yes, we put our sheep in the beautiful barn and we make them sure that our kids are fine in our home and so on, but we have to let them go out sometime. They must engage with the world sometime. So then our job is to make sure that we have safe grazing spaces. Safe spaces where they can learn about the world, but not have a wolf come and attack them while they are learning about the world. So what is happening now is that the barns have changed. From when you were young, the barn changed, no? The barn got all the stuff inside the barn. That's the one problem. The whole barn situation has changed. And the second issue is that the grazing ground has changed. And the third thing is that the wolves also changed. So this whole shepherd business now is like a new ball game now. Because you can't just be the shepherd your parents were. Your parents probably didn't even know where you were half the time. You try it with your own children now. You will never do that. Like maybe some of you, but most of you will not say, like for your young child now, 8, 9 years old, go play outside, come back Maghrib. You're like, no ways. You have probably a GPS tracker on the child. So I'm just saying, like, the things have changed. Things have changed. So what it requires is for us, as the environment changes, as the barn changes, as the wolves change, as the grazing ground change, it requires for us as shepherds to change also, to adapt to the situation. Because otherwise we can't be effective. We can't be effective. And this is essentially the job of and the challenge of parenting. The challenge of parenting. So what this workshop is about how do we instill that environment where the child can flourish and grow and develop, but still have discipline and adab and comportment, without necessarily using tools that are harmful, tools that are destructive. So that's why the workshop is called Peace, Discipline, and Discipline for Peace. Is that there's a difference between discipline and punishment. There's difference between discipline and punishment. In fact, the word discipline comes from the word disciple. A disciple is someone you take with you, and you nurture them and you raise them. It's not someone you necessarily beat or shout at or humiliate or guilt trip. You with me? All those bad habits that we do. All the bad habits that we do, and we all, in a sense, guilty of them, and sometimes we don't feel guilty because you just say, I was raised like that, so I'm doing the same thing. Is that harmful things that, a harmful thing is something that you wouldn't like done to you. And you must remember that you're an adult and the child is a child. So if you wouldn't like it done to you as an adult, it is manifestly greater and more traumatic for a child. And I was reading the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ because we obviously do study parenting from Western sources and psychologists and counselors and so on. So you have to also reference what is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But his personal sunnah is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ever hit a servant, a slave, a woman, a child, or even an animal. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ever hit his children. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are some hadith, I'll not speak of hadith some other time inshallah, but the prophetic sunnah is that he never, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ever he didn't raise his hand even for an animal, let alone a child. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, if you read his seerah, if you read his personality, you would think almost, how can the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam be so soft? Anas, who served him from 10 years old to 20 years old like a son, he said the Prophet ﷺ never even said to me once when I did something, he didn't even say, why did you do that? Let alone shouting, let alone hitting, he didn't ﷺ even say, why did you do that? Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this is the prophetic seerah. The fundamental premise behind the workshop is that if your discipline method makes your child feel unsafe, it is negative and harmful. It doesn't mean there are no rules. There are always going to be rules, and rules are positive. That there are rules for dressing and bathroom and sleeping and speaking. There are rules. But your method never makes your child feel unsafe. Why? Because you are the place of safety. In other words, when there's unsafe things happening in the world, they must come to you for safety. If you become the one that's causing the danger, what happens to your child? Where do they go for safety? So this is like a summary of like a 4-hour discussion. So I think the workshop's important. For those of you who are parents. In the first workshop we basically discussed this introduction, and I think that the issue we have is generally this, and I'll end with this inshallah. The issue we have is that we are parents. We want to ensure the child grows, but the child must have discipline. Now we have a parenting toolbox, and the problem is that half the time there's only 2 tools in the box: a hammer and a pliers. You understand? What the pliers is maybe time out, and the hammer is, you know what the hammer is. You understand? That is actually the issue. The issue is we don't have different goals, we have the same goals. We want development, we want adab, we want discipline, we want all of those things. But the issue is that in the toolbox, there's only those 2 tools. Or in some toolbox, only a hammer. I'm going to tell you dad, and he has a hammer. And the problem with the hammer is that the hammer thinks everything is what? A nail. It just hits. And it's a fundamental problem that we lack skills in discipline. So I feel it's like important that we fill the toolbox with other skills that are effective, that can ensure discipline without fear and danger and trauma. That's it. And also it's a mind shift for us, because we have to undo many things. We have to undo many things. So this is the journey, inshallah. So I invite you to join the workshop. Alhamdulillah, the person presenting is not a Muslim person, but the value she has is Islamic in terms of the approach she's taking. And also what I like about her is that she has experience as a teacher as well. She does also know what the real world is. Not just, because sometimes like the parenting books are a bit like very fluffy, and then like, you must tell your child how you feel all the time. Like that doesn't always work. So it's a very practical workshop. So inshallah there's 3 sessions left, and the last 3 is actually, the first workshop was more about awareness and what not to do. A whole list of things that we all do but we mustn't do. But the next 3 workshops are going to be about the actual tools. The actual tools for parenting. So we invite you to join, inshallah. I think it's very important. Or if you're not going to join, at least read some parenting books. But realize that you don't want to harm your children in the process of trying to raise them and discipline them, and that sometimes the shortcoming is outside. That we don't have the tools to deal with children in this time, in this age, in this context, and more than ever now, in the long run game. Not the short run game, to eat your food, to clean up now, that's a short run game. The long run game, as they become teenagers, as they become young adults, that if you don't provide the place of safety, they will turn away from you. And they will lie to you, and they will hide things from you, and they will go somewhere else. So sometimes we sacrifice immediate compliance and we think we're doing a good job, but there's long-term damage. And you lose your children in the long term. Yes, they fear you now, but one day they're going to be out of the house and they're not going to be there. And they're not going to come running to you when there's a problem, because you are not a safe space. So it's also like an introspective journey. And I think it's important, inshallah. So you're welcome to join us. It's not happening this Saturday, it's happening in 2 weeks' time, the next session, inshallah. But it's on all your WhatsApps and emails, inshallah. May Allah make us good parents. May Allah give us effective tools to help raise those that we love the most. Allahu Amin wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We come back at 22, inshallah. Barakallah. And tomorrow, next week, Taranga Road, eh? Not here, Taranga Road, same program, 8 o'clock. Quran by heart at Taranga Road next week, inshallah. Except for the Dawra here, they will be at York Road. Okay.